Hey, all right, guys. My apologies, man. I thought I hit the start the live button. Obviously, I didn't, but it's all good. Let me bring in our co-host Dante. What is going on, bro?
What's going on? What's going on? How we doing tonight? How the chat doing tonight?
Hey, man, it's going already, man. It's popping. We got several people already up in there. Real quick, guys, we got something totally different, something totally fresh. On Thursdays, we got For the Win. Obviously, Thursdays, 8 p.m. You're probably asking, what does it mean? So I'm going to turn it over to Dante. He's going to give you a little bit of insight as to how we're going to roll.
That's right. So like y'all see, For the Win, that's going to be the new show for the Thursday nights. And it's basically going to be great conversation, debates, and some could say arguments between me and Raul. And then, of course, we'll have the chat, people in the audience deciding on who had the best debate, whose point was right, in your opinion. So that's how Thursday nights are going to go, and I think it's going to be a great time. It's going to be fun for sure.
Absolutely, and throughout the live, you could actually go to our homepage on QBN Kennel. You can vote, man. Raul, Dante, for them haters out there that hate me, now's your chance, bro. Go over there and vote for Dante and vice versa, man. Number love. We got Unsigned 17 in the house, Tip of Gratitude, Adam Fields, Inserata. We got Reyes, Kennel, Sulema. We got Maurice Humboldt. We got everybody up in here. And you know what we're going to be talking about today is why is it so hard to be able to find a responsible breeder? All right. So I'm going to give you my 5 cents on it. We already flipped before coming in on the live. So I'm going to create an argument. And no matter what I say, good, right, or indifferent, Dante's role is to counter whatever I say. He's got to play devil's advocate, all right, guys. So listen, you pulled a fast one on me, says Coach Karen. Sorry about that. Good evening, Big Prior. So listen, I believe that one of the main reasons why it becomes so difficult for you to be able to find a responsible breeder, and I don't care what breed we're talking about, whether you're a German Shepherd lover, a Doberman Pinscher, American Bully, Pitbull, it don't matter. I feel that the main thing that keeps everything in line is the dynamic between registry, breeders, and buyers. And what has been happening over time is that the buying power of the buyer has actually upset that dynamic. Go ahead, Dante.
Well, before I start, I need a little bit more detail on what you're saying as far as the dynamic with the registries and the buyer. So are you saying that the more money somebody has, it's easier for them to find a responsible breeder, or no?
No, what I'm saying is that the way it's supposed to work is registries set the standards, breeders breed to that standard, and then based on how many titles you get, champions, grand champions, so on and so forth, that's what originally was setting the market back in the day. You got to keep in mind that originally when these dog clubs came to being, they were dealing with working dogs. So, it didn't matter color. It didn't matter. Aesthetics didn't matter as much. What mattered was, can the dog get the job done? Whatever that job may be. And can it or can it not? However, ever since we've done away with a lot of things that working breeds, the one working breed that comes to my mind is the English Bulldog, for example. He used to go in the ring and bite a bull on his nose to get its blood, agitated, going before they would actually kill the bull. Once that got outlawed, there was no need for bulldogs, and the breed, to a certain extent, I won't say became extinct, but it dwindled there for a minute until breeders realized that they had to change the temperament on the breed, and now you have that English Bulldog temperament that everybody loves. But the dynamic, that registry to breeder to buyer dynamic, was upset because it was originally being used to buy working dogs. Once you get that out the picture, now you start picking dogs based on color, how pretty they look, and that kind of thing. And so I feel that the buyers with their money have upset, the dynamic between registry, breeder, and buyer. Go ahead and take that.
Okay, I don't agree with that at all. I actually feel like with the new times, I feel like social media is what actually changed that dynamic because people look more for the aesthetic of a dog. They're not looking more for, like you're saying, what the dog can actually do. I think what popularized that is social media because people see, okay, this person has a dog that looks like this, and because they do, they get a lot more likes, or they get a lot more followers behind that dog because of the aesthetic of the dog, not really what the dog can do. So I hear what you're saying, but for me, it doesn't really align with that, because you still have those same breeders that still, have working dogs and still breed how they did back in the day, and still can reach their customer base of the people who they were reaching before. But now with social media, it's grabbing in a lot of different breeders. They are trying to do the same thing, and the quality is just not the same. So that's the dynamic I feel.
I totally disagree with you on that, because yes, social media is changing things, but it's actually altering the original dynamic that was already set even further. Why is that? Because now it becomes a popularity show rather than do you have a correct dog. If you got a dog that's walking around with a watermelon head, just with that alone, people are going to be willing to pay you more, right? However, if you take that dog in the ring, he's probably east, west, and high rear and several other things going on with that dog, but people don't care. They want to pay for that big head, and that's a popular dog. And because the dog is popular, they're willing to pay, and because they're willing to pay, they're altering the entire dynamic.
See, the only way I can't agree with that is because when you speak on how you said earlier, we're speaking on all dog breeds. I don't see that in the Rottweiler breeding community. I don't see that in the German Shepherd breeding community. They don't deal with those type of things. Just for example, the Cane Corso, it's become very popular within the last year. This dog is not a new dog. This dog has been around. If you know your history, you know exactly where the Cane Corso comes from. But as of now, within the last year, because of what social media has done with people who are have bigger brands that have been buying these type of dogs, it has driven people to, regardless of if that dog has flaws, if that dog comes from a legit breeder, somebody that's been breeding for a while, regardless, everybody wants a Cane Corso right now because of the aesthetic of the dog and because of the popularity that's been pushed behind the dynamic of social media.
But then you're agreeing with me. I mean, straight up, think about it. You could have an irresponsible breeder that ties his dogs to a tree, but if the dog is popular enough, people are willing to pay. That's altering the entire dynamic from the get.
But that's what I'm saying. So
you're agreeing with me.
not necessarily.
I'll take the point.
Because check this out. Because on another tip, you can find another breeder who's just as popular in the community, but they don't push for a dog for just its aesthetics. They actually do work with their dogs and in other breeds. Like most people are not familiar with working dog breeds like a German short-haired pointer, right? But they don't need a social media platform to have a base to sell their dogs because they actually do work. Or beagles in the countries where they do rabbit hunting and things like that, they don't need a social media presence to show what they do. Or dogs that hunt hogs, it's the same thing.
But Dante, listen, we said, why is it so hard for us to find a responsible breeder nowadays? My response from the very get is that when you had working dogs, which is your current argument right now, when you had working dogs, it was whether they could do the job or not. You know, if you had a bloodhound that could sniff a deer from 20 miles away, I could care less what color this bloodhound had, or if he was east-west, it didn't matter. The fact of the matter was he was able to perform his job better than others. Therefore, that's what used to set his market. But now, specifically with the American Bully, for example, which is a non-working breed. So we're dealing with aesthetics. We're dealing with popularity. You know, if you go back 30 some odd years when this breed was first created, this breed was embraced by the hip hop scene. So these things is what actually creates the value for our breed, for the American Bully. Now, maybe not so dogs that are still being used as working dogs. Like you mentioned, the Rottweiler, German Shepherds, they're still employed a lot by police forces and so forth. So definitely it's a harder dynamic it's harder for their dynamic to change since they're required to be a working dog first and then everything else later. You see what I'm saying? But when you're dealing with breeds such as the American Bully, this is a non-working breed. This is a companion breed. This is a breed that's supposed to sit next to you, technically sit next to you, when you're on the couch or something and watch TV with you. So it comes down to aesthetics. And because it comes down to aesthetics, that buyer says, I'm willing to pay $5,000 for that pup, changes the dynamic totally. Doesn't matter if the parents of that pup are champions, grand champions, if they're high rear, if they're this or they're that. And that's one of the main reasons that our breed is kind of going in the wrong direction. Go ahead and shoot.
So I got a question. You said that the dynamic originally was coming from the working dog experience. What are there? Is that dynamic still not relevant today?
I didn't say that. I said that, for example, in some breeds like ours, it's not relevant. Right. And for other breeds that are still working, it becomes that much more difficult to change that dynamic because, say, for example, the German Shepherd, right? Do you know how difficult it is to change that dynamic, since that's probably the most employed breed amongst police forces, not just in America, but around the world? Therefore, it becomes more complicated for them to be able to change that dynamic. But when you're dealing with the American Bully, we don't have dogs. I mean, we do have some dogs in the police force, don't get me wrong. But, you know, we're not etched in people's minds and in their consciousness. You know, ever since I was a kid, you know, 40 some odd years ago, I saw German Shepherds being handled by cops. And that hasn't changed till today. You know, and now Malinois are coming into the mix and whatnot. My point is, the fact that they're being employed makes it a lot more difficult for that balance to be altered. Whereas with American Bully, the balance is altered. This is an aesthetic breed. This is a breed that's been customized for people to look at it and be like, oh, that's so cute. It's a companion breed. I mean, you don't agree with that?
I don't, because you still have other breeds that fall along with that, like a Labradoodle or like a Poodle or like a Yorkie, who don't do work now. They are considered designer breeds. And like you said with the Bully, they are made to be small and sit right next to you. Where's the dynamic in that? They still are able to find responsible breeders within that, and they still have the same dynamics that you're saying we have as American Bully owners as well.
I totally agree with you, and I'm going to tell you why. When you're looking at breeds that are specifically made for city life, and I call all toy breeds perfect for city life. Pugs, Frenchies that can't bark, they're perfect for city life, which means that now you don't need to have a yard to be able to produce these dogs. You could produce them right here in your extra room. In fact, if you have a closet that's big enough, you could reproduce them there. And therefore, you're going to have a lot more backyard breeders. Today, you have more backyard breeders, I don't care what breed it is, in the cities than you ever will in the country. What do you think about that?
Yes, you have that because of social media. Pugs have been around. Frenchies have been around. Nobody was intending to try to make a business out of this until social media made it seem popular, like this was the most profitable thing that you could do as a backyard breeder. That's just not the case. So that's why it looks like that, but that's just not the case. Like I said, these breeds have been around. If that was the case, they would have been selling like how they've been selling right now. They would have been had breeders constantly breeding these dogs to make them. But
I remember before social media was around, I remember there was a particular newspaper in Miami that you could actually, like, you know, sell used items from your home. It was basically like Craigslist, but on a little newspaper that I forgot the name of it or whatever. And you would go in there and you could see them. I remember vividly. I remember a particular picture back in the days. I'm talking about 30, 40 years ago, man. It said $1,500 for an English Bulldog. So to think that social media has been the lone culprit of that, I would have to totally disagree. Now, I will say that the English Bulldog lost its working dog dynamic because its temperament had to be, engineered in a way where the aggressiveness was taken out. But I still believe if you go back 30 years ago, I mean, Atomic Dog Magazine, bro. I mean, if you came out on there with a dog, automatically, bro, people were knocking on your door to buy dogs. So true enough, social media has facilitated it. But the fact that people are going to breed dogs to sell, that's just within human nature, man. It's always been.
Yeah, it has always been. I just feel it's kind of how we're saying when we're talking about finding a responsible breeder, it's kind of changed the dynamic in that solely because the things that you're pointing out as far as the working dogs, the aesthetics of a dog, that has been around. The bully breed is a new breed. other dogs have been around for hundreds of years. This hasn't been an issue until social media came about. Like you said, in the newspaper, you see people marketing dogs and things like that. It's always been able to sell dogs, but right now we're in a time where it's a lot harder because of a lot more people thinking they can do this and make a profit out of it based off of social media. They wouldn't think like this if it wasn't somebody on Facebook or two people on YouTube talking about the dog world or the dog community and saying these type of things. The outlets wasn't there before. Back in the day, you didn't have this type of platform where somebody like myself can come on and speak to you about this and have these type of conversations. It just wasn't. It wasn't happening.
Look, I've already made my arguments. You made yours on the matter, but let's take this argument even further. So let's see what we agree on and disagree. Now, mind you, he's playing devil's advocate, but we're gonna go back and forth. All right. So here we go. So what constitutes a responsible breeder? So I'm gonna throw three things out there, Dante. You could pick any one of them three, and we could have a debate. Okay.
Okay.
First thing is, I would say a responsible breeder is a breeder who's going to put the dog's health and safety above every and anything else. That's number one. Number two, and I'm just going to throw this question out there for debate if you want to go that route. Would a responsible breeder be required to genetically test their dogs? There's so many breeders right now that feel that there is no need for them to genetically test because their dogs are not showing any type of illnesses, so on and so forth. I feel that you must genetically test. That wasn't a tool that was afforded to us 20 years ago, 25 years ago, but it's something that is afforded to us now. And if you're not doing it at this stage of the game, I kind of feel like, you're kind of rolling the dice is pretty much what you're doing. Do you agree with that?
I don't actually.
Okay, talk to me.
The reason I don't agree with that is because I don't think enough people know what to look for in genetic testing. We were talking about the general sense for them to feel like that's going to be important enough to deter them from buying a dog. And also, and just speaking with the American Bully breed, it's been so many different things mixed into our breed that the genetic testing I don't think it's going to look okay right now. It's going to be down the line where these dogs are always going to have something wrong with them because it's a newer breed. I think it's going to take about another 50 years to get to the point of like some of these other breeds. And even we see with other breeds, they still have issues even with genetic testing.
I could care less what breed it is. You're always going to have issues. That's the reason that you're genetic testing. Some breeds are going to have a propensity, say, for example, to heart murmurs or to some sort of spinal cord disease or that sort of thing. That's the main reason you got a genetic test. Now, mind you, you did bring up a point. You said not everybody knows how to read it or whatnot. But I can tell you, I genetic test. And I don't know if you've embarked before, but it's very self-explanatory if you're able to put the time and read. I feel that a lot of people don't, they kind of want to rush through things or try to figure out the color part of it. But if you really sit there and you read everything that's going on, you're going to get a good grasp of the information that's there. If you're breeding right now, I could care less what you're breeding. It doesn't even have to be dogs. It can be snakes. If you're not genetic testing, you're a backyard breeder. Straight up. Do you agree with that, Dante?
I don't think just because you don't genetically test that you're a backyard breeder. I don't agree with that. I think it does for your customer base. It does help when you are genetic testing, because it does show that you are showing that much care, that you want to make sure that you find out even more of the background information about said dog or said breed that you're going to be, selling out to the consumer base. But as far as a community in general, I don't think the customer cares enough about that. And I don't think it really matters to the point of what you were saying kind of earlier, as far as every breed has something wrong with it. So we're not going to be able to correct the kinks out of every breed, which is our sole programs. So of course, as a breeder, you want to breed to perfect the breed every time. But if you're so stuck on just genetic testing, then you're not going to get to where you're trying to be.
But the main reason that you want to genetically test is to not false step into a particular pathology or illness or disease that can be there. You got to realize you could actually breed dogs that are carriers of something, and as long as you're not pairing it with the other carrier, you're pretty much good to go. So that's the main reason behind genetic testing. Should genetic testing be the sole tool that you use for breeding? No, but it should be your primary tool. The last thing you want to do is produce dogs that have a particular disease or pathology over and over again. That's the main thing you want to, because like I said from the very beginning, responsible breeding comes down to one thing, and that's the dog's health first and foremost. If that dog's going to produce puppies, you want to make sure you're producing them healthy. You're not producing a problem, not just for society, more importantly for that very puppy. But that's a good point. Let's see if we can move on to the next point, man. Let's read what they say. It's pure ignorance to not genetic test because you don't understand it. I think the math works out that my boy carries that one dog almost 1,000 times. Do your homework on what you're breeding and learn. Good deal. Even in reptiles, people are genetic testing, especially to confirm HET genetics, and majority people wanted to guarantee genetics that they're paying for. I agree. Need to get away from the homogenized gene. Correct. Talk about kink tail. Yes. All right. Sheesh, where's Naheem, bro? Look at that. Inserata need more people doing embark, OFA, or pen hip. I'm going to let you go ahead and set up, Dante. Up to now, I've been on offense. I've been setting the points. I'm going to let you go ahead and set the next point that we could argue.
Okay. Well, I had a question about the last point before we move on.
Okay, go ahead.
As far as when the Merle gene was introduced into the bully community, right?
Yes.
Before it was a big thing amongst breeders that wasn't a thing to do because of the genetic factors that didn't align with that.
I was one of them. Okay.
Correct. But essentially, people they changed their mind on that. The genetics didn't change about the Merle. But people still wanted to profit off that and seeing that, okay.
Well, Dante, here's where I disagree with you. Stop for a second. You're absolutely right. The Merle gene did not change or morph into anything different. I'm going to tell you what did change. Time passed. Genetic testing became more accessible. Now, what have I said on my platform? If you're going to be breeding Merles, what must you do? You must genetically test. Now, because it becomes affordable and you're able to genetically now test the litter, now I'm for Merles. I'm okay with it because Merle, just like anything else, it's a dominant gene, right? You have hundreds of dominant genes. Some of them are good for the dog. Some of them are bad for the dog. But if you are able to comprehend what that gene is and what you can't pair it to, then that's where you have just stepped your game up as a breeder.
How though? If we know that this is a mutation and we know that what comes along with the Merle, because you can get one or two good dogs out of that litter, but you may still have other dogs that may have issues because of that certain gene. How does that make sense? If all you're saying is because you're doing the genetic testing to find out this information, it makes it better. That's not true, because if I have a Rottweiler that has hip dysplasia, because I know this and I continue to breed the dog because he's a nice stud, then I'm doing the people a disservice in knowing that. But because he's one of my best studs, I keep using him because he's selling. It's the same thing with the Merle issue.
No, it's two different things. Now, let me just tell you this real quick. So the Merle gene, we already said, is a dominant gene, right? However, if you don't pair it, you don't make it homozygotic, you don't make it identical with another one, you are good to go. Because the Merle gene displaces coloration. You need it for the retina. You also need it for the ears, right? Whereas if you double up on Merle, the displacement would be so much, right? That's where you're running a 27% chance of producing blind and deaf dogs. Whereas if you have a dominant gene and you have a non-dominant gene with it, this gene, even though it's a passive gene and it's not dominant, is what keeps that Merle gene from creating havoc within a dog. However, like I just said, if you pair them together and they're both dominant, now you've displaced the coloration so much that you're going to have eyesight and hearing issues. The same holds true for an all-white dog. That it's as simple as that.
Okay. So I guess my next thing would be one thing that I think is one of the most important things about being a responsible breeder is teaching the people who you're going to be talking to or influencing, and actually giving them the actual facts on, you know, what it takes to not only, if you're going to be a breeder, to breed dogs, but just as a pet owner in general. I think that's probably the most important fact of a responsible breeder, and knowing, okay, when I talk to this person, I need to explain to them this way so they can continue to move in a certain light to where it improves the breed and the community.
Well, look, man, I'm going to tell you, that all sounds great. What you're saying, guys, I got to play the other role, right? So I see what you're saying, but I will also say this. As much as you want to put the responsibility on the breeders, the buyers must also be responsible enough to do their homework. If you're about to jump into a breed because it looks pretty, and you're about to jump into Merle gene, you're about to jump into other genes that may mutate or morph or whatever, you know, you don't want to find out 3 years into it, oh, I shouldn't have bred Merle to Merle. You should have known that from the get. So yeah, it's good that a breeder goes out there and educates, but it's even more important for the registry, okay, to start putting out information as well, and for the buyers to actually educate themselves. How many times do you not see brand new buyers learning their first lesson with their first puppy? Oh, I paid 10 grand for him. Yeah, bro, that's a great looking pet. Good job. Did you say pet? Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a pet. That's a train wreck of a pet, man. And then that's how they learn their first lessons when they come in. Where does the responsibility lie on the buyer before you even make your first purchase? That's what I say.
Correct.
What do you think?
I think it goes back to the first point, what we were saying. You're right. The buyer has to do their research and their homework, but there's not a lot of outlets that have that. It wasn't until social media came about that gave us the outlets and platforms to learn this type of information. It wasn't a lot of books out. It wasn't a lot of people that you can just find and talk to and get this type of information from. So now, knowing what we're dealing with, you have to, as a breeder, be responsible for whoever you're speaking with, whoever you're talking to, whoever you come in contact with. Stand on whatever you believe as far as what is right, and make sure that person knows, so moving forward, that they won't have any issues as far as improving the breed. But you don't get that. You don't get to that point, again, without social media, which changes the dynamic and what we've been talking about. And also,
thank you, bro. You just went from my opposite to my tag team. All right, bro. Go ahead. Go ahead. I love it. Go ahead, man.
But the thing is, me and you can have this conversation, and it's going to sound much differently. But my friend who may not know just as much as I do, and he's up here on the same platform talking, but the people are listening to him just as well, it's not going to transfer over the same. So it's deeper than just saying, oh, the buyer has because the buyer go find whatever breeder, and if that breeder,
come on, man, the buyer's a sheep. The buyer's sheep. If you're brand new and you're just following the trend, you're another sheep just waiting to get slaughtered. And then once you get slaughtered, now you come running. Oh, can you help me? Yeah, bro, I charge $100. $100? You just paid.
How is that the buyer's fault though? That's how they. If I come,
what do you mean? How was that? What do you mean? How was that the buyer's fault?
Because if I'm a newbie, right? I'm a newbie.
On impulsion.
Look, listen. If I'm a newbie and I never seen Raul, right? I come in. I'm looking for a bully, and at this point, I haven't seen QBN, but maybe I seen another gentleman who's maybe not as big as QBN, but he's talking stuff to where I can understand, and I like what he's saying, and I like his dogs. But he might not be the best breeder as far as telling me the dynamics of how to deal with dogs that are going to be standing in a large kennel or with the pack or anything like that. I don't know that information. And then I come across a Raul. Now I'm learning more in-depth information. Now my perspective is changing as a buyer. But like you say, if I just get into the game, I may not come across the right person just yet.
Okay. But we just established, if you're coming to the game and you didn't find the right person because you haven't done your homework, what are you, Dante? Are you a sheep or do you know what you're doing? Talk to me now. You're following a trend. 9 times out of 10, that's what's happening. Right. And then, all of a sudden the sword comes down on you and you realize you just overpaid on a pup. And whether it's Raul's platform or anybody else's platform, you're going to go running over there to get help, because now you realize that you must research. You should have known how to research from the get, straight up, because that buyer is what's setting the market. You see, in the German Shepherd world, why is it German Shepherds, and again, German Shepherd breeders, don't come kill me or nothing like that. Just hear me out. Why is it that average German Shepherd prices are almost half of that of American Bullies? The reason for that is because German Shepherds are working breeds, right? It's a working breed majority. You go anywhere in the world, there's German Shepherds everywhere in police departments. Therefore, that's an extra step in the dynamic, another hurdle that you must jump over before you get to the point of raising prices or just going off of aesthetics, because that's still a working line. But when you're dealing with American Bullies, you don't have that hurdle. That's part of the reason why the prices are so high.
I don't think German. We're just gonna. Well, I want to get back to the German Shepherd point. I don't think. I think more people buy German Shepherds not to put them into doing work. They do have a lane for that, but I feel like families get German Shepherds just for a family dog. I don't think it necessarily plays into if they're doing work, which goes into my point as, like you said, that was how they did it then. And then it continued to change. I don't think people are looking more for a working dog per se. I think
no. I'm not saying. Yeah, I'm not saying German Shepherds are mostly being bought to be police dogs. There's only so many police dogs you can have.
Right.
My point is, because they are still considered a working line breed, okay, you're going to have a harder time raising those prices than, say, a companion breed that doesn't have that working line hurdle. All right.
Okay,
if you got a police department paying, $2,000, $2,500 for a particular line breed, whether you like it or not, they're part of the market dynamic, and they're going to hold the prices from going up. They're also going to keep the prices from coming down. You see what I'm saying? Because it's a breed that is needed to perform a particular job, whatever that may be. Now, you may buy a German Shepherd because you have a farm, you just want to have a big dog. That's great. But their market dynamic, they have an extra hurdle that you must jump before prices either tick up or come down. That's what I think.
Question then, what is that American Bully threshold then? Like such the German Shepherd, where is that threshold?
Well, let's talk about it. Right now, Motor Bully says these are designer dogs, and I couldn't agree with him more. Okay, by the way, any dog breed that man has bred is a designer breed, whether it's a working line or not. Let's just throw that out there. That didn't happen by Mother Nature. However, I will tell you this. The American Bully, and I've had this discussion before, it's a three-way dynamic. You have the registry at the very top, you got the breeders, and you have the buyers. In a cylindrical, sterile world, the way it would work is registry sets the standards, breeders breed to that standard based on how many grand champions you have and champions and all that. You kind of establish your market also based on the demand. Is that what's happening with us? Hell no. Buyers come in because they're ignorant and they're sheep. And I don't mean it as a disrespectful way, but if you come in and you're wanting to spend $12,000 on a breed that you just found out on within the last month or two, and you know nothing about the Merle gene, you're ignorant. And it's not me trying to bring you down or talk you down. You're just ignorant on the subject matter. You don't understand or comprehend. But as long as you got that ignorant person coming through the door willing to pay, that's what's setting the market. Let me give you an example. When I lived in Miami in 99, something went down in my original country, Venezuela, and thousands of millionaires left that country and bought houses in Miami. You know what happened to the housing market in Miami? Through the freaking roof, bro. If you lived in Miami, you couldn't own a house. You couldn't. Houses tripled within 2 years. Why? Because the market dynamic completely changed. All of a sudden, you had millionaires coming from this foreign country buying everything up, bro. paying twice as much as what market price was. And that's what's happening with the American Bully.
So what changed our market dynamic?
I think it's an excellent question. I think that social media, I think that but hold up now. Hold up. Let me ask you this. Is there a breed closer to the hip hop culture than the American Bully and the Pitbull? You tell me. I'll throw the Staffy in there while we're at it.
As of right now,
yes.
No, not well.
Last 30 years, because I mean, let's make it fair. The last 30 years, which are the top 3 breeds that are closest to the hip hop culture?
Rottweilers for one.
Okay.
Of course, the Pitbull. And then I would have to say, as of late, it's been your designer breed like the Frenchie. But the Frenchie definitely, I think the Frenchie has taken over the popularity within the last couple of years in the hip hop community.
Would you agree that the American Bully started its foundation within the hip hop culture? Would you at least give me that?
That's still kind of tough because the American Bully is, in my eyes, the American Bully is different from the American Pitbull Terrier. And
okay.
Honestly, I feel like with the American Pitbull Terrier, that's what we were seeing and pushed in older hip hop culture. And I think with what happened with Michael Vick, it essentially turned people off from wanting a pit bull. And then we went to a more docile dog in the American Bully. And I feel like it took a push in itself because people seen I can actually own this dog and it's not going to be as hot as an American Pitbull Terrier. And so then the dynamic started to change.
I ain't asking all that. I'm telling you straight up. If you know the history about the American Bully, all right, we'll go back, the Dave Wilson days, blah, 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 Pitbull and Staffy, so we can make bullies, right? Straight up. Atomic Dog magazine and all that. What culture was it revolving around? In fact, I would dare to tell you that nowadays you got countries like the UK right now banning the American Bully. You got Scotland. I'm part of a group right now where we're trying to stop the ban of American Bullies in Scotland. And I feel that the main reason that they're being banned is because, they're using they're using different reasons as to why they're doing it. But at the end of the day, what they're trying to stop is American urban culture. What are we talking about? We're talking about hip hop. That's what we're talking about. They don't want that in the inner cities, straight up.
I think they're just ignorant to about the breed in general. I don't think they're trying to stop hip hop culture because hip hop culture sells, pop culture sells. I don't think they're trying to stop it. I just don't think they know how to control it. I don't think they know how to understand the breed in itself. That's
precisely why they don't want it. Because they can't control it. When was the last time, and man, my people over there in the UK, don't kill me now, but here in the States, when was the last time you heard of man, you might kill me because I'm an older dude, but when was the last time we heard of a British rapper up in here, like tearing it up? When was the last time we had a Scottish rapper, a rapper from Wales, a rapper from Ireland, up in here in the States, tearing it up?
Nah, I can't think of one.
There's a reason for it, bro. But there's a reason for it. Some human tendency is when we don't understand something, when we fear it, we tear it down. We take it away, we eliminate it because we don't comprehend it. That's the reason why they're trying to ban our breed overseas.
But I think still though, we've been dealing with a light ban here in the US. There's certain insurances that won't even insure your home if you have a certain breed of a dog. There's certain apartment communities that you can't even move into with that type of breed. So I feel like
listen, I couldn't agree with you more, but you're talking about a country who has historically, United States of America. I love this country. I'm an Army veteran. I will die for this country. But historically, we have had, all right, racist and discriminatory policies throughout the country, both directly back in the years and indirectly now with, breed-specific legislation, BSLs. Which more and more they're bringing them down now because people are realizing more and more that it's really about discriminating people and not discriminating dogs. Now, if you heard me say that, I do got to tell you one other thing, man, because we got to keep it real. Guys, real quick, let me talk to you about Nuvet and New Joint Plus. This is a multivitamin. This is joint support. Many people out here have done before and after pictures showing you the improvement that this alone brings to the table. If you're feeding kibble, if you're feeding raw, there could be some insufficiencies that are actually causing structural issues to your dog. Wouldn't you want to correct that? This is just it. The multivitamin that'll do it for you is Nuvet and also joint support with New Joint Plus. I recommend both bottles. We're going to go ahead and leave a link in the descriptions below. Now let's get back to it. Guys, we're going to get back to it, but real quick, just so you know, Nuvet and New Joint DS double strength. If you're able to order it and you put auto renewal with our code 513237, you can buy this in stores, and you do need a code to be able to order. If you're able to order them and you do every 3 months automatic ship, we're going to go ahead and give you an additional 13% off. Let's jump back into the debate, man. This is getting good. So what do you think about what I was saying, Dante?
Like we said, there's some things I agree with, and on the other hand, I feel like you're saying some things that I just think don't align, you know. But I mean, that's okay. That's what the conversation is here for.
Hey, look, Kobe over here, Kobe Hospitals. He's letting me know, man, there's a whole UK drap drill scene right now. And that's why I'm going off of what Dante knows, because I'm not too much into the rap scene. But I just will say this. I have never been listening to the radio or whatever and heard of a UK rap artist here in the States tearing it up. I just haven't. If you have, please go ahead and drop a comment. Educate me, man. Update me. I'm kind of like an older guy. Go ahead, Dante.
Now, Kobe's totally correct. I've heard of UK rappers, but like you say, a lot of people don't tend to listen to them here in the US, but I have heard of some, and it's definitely a scene going on, but like you say, it's not being listened to over here like it is over there, obviously.
All right, good deal, man. Let's see if we are able to pick up any good comments here. Coach Karen is saying, and when I worked for animal control, I ran the stats, and the chow was topped at most aggressive and reported bites attacks.
Right.
When I was a kid, I actually saw a chow tear somebody up pretty bad. So it's funny you say that. Shay saying, Nuvet, New Joint Plus, whole food diet cured my pup's allergies. Thank you, Shay. Manhattan Bullies, that chow is mean. I was scared of them when I was younger. Yeah, absolutely, man, with that purple tongue. Gary, one way that landlords and rental property, listen up, guys, listen up. Rental property management are slick putting in breed restrictions, is putting weight limits for dogs. All right? That's how they're rolling with it, man. And they're also discriminating through BSL. This is one reason why I will never buy a home that has an HOA, which is Homeowners Association, because they actually have legislative authority over your home and what you can and can't have, man. I would never go that route. Tip of gratitude. It's because when they sing, they don't have a British accent. Oh, okay. He's talking about singers, I guess. All right. 21 Savage. See, all heard of him. I don't know about those names.
That's a good one. No, that's a good one. That's a good one. The 21 Savage, I get what you're saying. Oh my God, that's a funny one.
Let me bring in Kyle, man, because Kyle's saying he wants to jump in. By the way, we dropped the link. If you want to jump in on the debate, all you got to do is scroll through the comments. In fact, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and copy it again, and I'm going to go ahead and paste it. And also, guys, if you haven't voted yet, go to our homepage. If you think Dante's points have been better, give it up for Dante. If you hate me, give it up for Dante. If you think I got it going on, give it up for me. If you hate Dante, then give me the votes too, man. Number love, man. Let me bring Kyle up, man. What you got, Kyle?
Hey, my stuff is not working very good right now. Obviously, you see me up and out. I'm having a lot of internet difficulties.
Okay, no
but
issues,
there's been plenty of times I wanted to chime in, but I was like, no, this is getting too good. I'm going to let them fight it out.
All right, man. Sounds good, man. I appreciate you, bro. Yeah, he's having a little bit of internet issues. So I want you guys to tell us, man, straight up, what constitutes a responsible breeder to you? Give me the top 3 things that you're looking for in a responsible breeder, and we'll go ahead and debate it up here. Let me check out the comments. We got George Barron. I live in an HOA, and I've had to make sure my bully's registered as a support pet to keep them off my back. wow, bro. That truly sucks. If you're looking to breed, if you're looking to have many dogs, more likely than not, an HOA is probably not the way you want to go. That's the fastest way to get dinged, and just get things going in the wrong direction. Last thing you want is to have issues where you live, guys. I know not everywhere is Texas where you got all this land and you can do whatever and people are not bothering you. I get that. But yeah, bro, don't try breeding in a place where you got a old lady, old Karen, trying to use and make an example out of you. Let me see, man. Let me see what comments we got. We got Tradesmen Exotics. Hell, they're trying to ban a bunch of reptiles in the U.S. all the time. It's crazy. It's a constant fight with the FWC. I guess that's the legislative body because every state follows the FWC. Wow. Let me know what the FWC stands for, man. I'm sorry, I'm ignorant to snakes. I mean, I do know I bought me two, king snakes and whatnot, all that good stuff. But really, I don't know, like, the legislative entities or bodies behind that. Tip of Gratitude says, a breeder that will inform the purchaser of possible health issues. I think we can both agree on that. If the puppy has health issues, you must, as a breeder, let that buyer know. Second, a breeder that will be honest about the background of the dog's temperament. All right, so let's talk about that for a second. That a breeder's honest about the background of a dog's temperament. So what does that mean to you, Dante? Because to me, check it out. I can test a pup. In fact, I'll test the whole litter. I'll test the pups. I'll even drop a pan in front of you so you can see puppy's gonna, kind of freak out when it hears it, but it doesn't cower to the back and it doesn't come straight up to it, right? And you're doing all these tests on the pup. Once the pup leaves your hands, right? Like whatever that puppy's going to experience is going to impact that puppy's temperament. If you grab that puppy and you humanize it, and you're over here cuddling it, you're watching TV and feeding it popcorn. When there's time to eat, you set him at the dinner table. He puts his paws on the table. You're the one that's creating the monster. Let me know what you think. What you think about that particular comment, Dante?
I believe, like how you're speaking on, you necessarily wouldn't be able to justify that because, in my personal opinion, it would take for a trainer to see these type of things to recognize temperament because you have your own idea of what that looks like. Like you just gave an example of dropping a pan near a puppy and they getting skittish. As a trainer, that doesn't tell me anything as far as the temperament goes. When I think about temperament, I think more of the drive that this dog has. Does this dog have a prey drive, a food drive, and things like that? Because that's are the things that are going to be used for the training part. So is this dog more relaxed when toys come out, or are they very anxious to get toys? Is this dog very relaxed when the food comes out, or is that dog very anxious to get to the food? Those type of things kind of determine the temperament of a dog because you can have a dog that even if you humanize that dog, the temperament can still be very, very relaxed, chilled, and laid back. To the humanization of that dog, it really wouldn't change the temperament of that dog. Now, the things you're doing with that dog, like you said, you humanize them to the point where you let them sleep in the bed and things like that, and that can cause behavior issues. But as far as the temperament remains the same. I feel like if you really want to understand the temperament of a dog, you have to take those dogs to a trainer. You can't do that on your own unless you're a trainer.
All right, so let's change gears here real quick. V Bully's team is saying a good breeder will give a health certificate. We could agree to that. But then she says, and guarantee, well, I'm sorry, then they say, and guarantee for at least a year. Do you think that in order to be viewed as a responsible breeder, you must give a health guarantee? This is a touchy subject. That's why I'm hitting that question.
When I hear responsible, no. Like, again, does it help your business and your brand? Yes, because the people I bought dogs from that had the health guarantee and told me, hey, if something happens within these measures, while you have your dog within that first year, you're able to get this amount of money back or another dog. It made me more comfortable purchasing from that program. But sometimes those dogs haven't been the best dogs for me as well. Sometimes those dogs have temperament issues. Sometimes those dogs have behavior issues. It doesn't necessarily say that I'm getting the best dog or I'm dealing with the most responsible breeder, because they might some people or some breeders might lean hard on that because they know they lack in other areas. So it's kind of one of those, like I say, it's a touchy subject.
All right, Gary's saying, Raul, I heard you on a live once mention something about a hotline or something like that to know whether that a pedigree line has a higher chance of bad temperament or not. And absolutely, if you're a breeder, you should be saying that. Let me just go back to this real quick. This health guarantee for at least a year. I'm going to tell you straight up, bro. I'm going to debate you on this all day. I think it's BS. I'm going to tell you why I think it's BS. If you're genetically testing as a breeder, there is not a preemptive predisposition to a particular disease process or whatnot. Let's say you got two parents that are completely clear, right? Let me tell you how things could go downhill. I could sell you a puppy and you do research and whatnot. And I'm going to tell you guys this. There's a lot of information out there, okay? But not all of it is good. Not all of it is good. I'm going to hit you up right now. So about 3 or 4 years ago, I remember it became pretty big, the whole grain-free kibble, okay? Because now, companies can't cut corners because it's grain-free.
Right.
Well, then it turned out a study came out and said all of a sudden dogs are starting to pop up with DCM, which is dilated cardiomyopathy. The heart's now getting a lot bigger because there's no fiber in the dog's body or whatnot to counter and to help the functions that the body normally does in the circulatory system. So my point is, if I sold you a pup from two parents that are completely clear, puppy is completely clear at the time I sell it to you, and you put him on grain-free kibble for 6 months and he comes back with a heart murmur, whose fault was that?
It's essentially the owner's fault for feeding that dog that said dog food over the amount of time, and it wasn't conducive to the dog. And I think,
but let's be honest. Do you think that buyer is going to come walk into a breeder and say, "Hey, you know what? I caused it. It was me. It was the grain-free kibble I was giving him." So seeing that, do you think it's conducive for a breeder to give you a 1-year health guarantee? It makes no sense in my eyes. I don't know what you're going to feed this dog. You can feed him poison for all I know.
Yes, because like I said, in the health certificates I had, it explained exactly what they were saying, that hey, if this happens within a year, if, like I said, at the time I believe it was a Rottweiler, if this dog shows any sign of OFA or hip dysplasia or anything like that, then yes, we are responsible for that because we have done the testing to show that shouldn't show up or come up at any time.
I will tell you this, bro, and my hat's off to that breeder you got your dog from. Okay, my hat's off, and I'm going to tell you why right now. I know that the veterinary community is split 50-50 as to whether hip dysplasia is actually genetic or environmental. Let me give you case in point. They actually did a study where they had pups on slippery surfaces versus breeding dogs that actually had hip dysplasia. So they thought that they would have a genetic propensity. Turns out that every single pup on the slippery surface turned out to have either hip dysplasia or something going on with their gait, which tells you more times than not it can be environmental, at least in my eyes. What do you think about that?
With the study and how you explained it, I could definitely believe that. But also, I mean, just like how you speak on as far as a dog having an H-frame, right?
Okay.
And you still use raised dog bows, correct?
I do.
Okay. So therefore, if that dog didn't start with that and then they start using that method and it doesn't change, but you're telling them that it does, is that not essentially the same thing?
No, because here's the thing. Here's the thing. And again, I'm trying to keep it fair across the board. I don't know what you're doing with that dog. I'm going to go to a story I've said in the past. You probably heard it. I'm going to say it for those people that haven't heard it before. I sold the dog to a gentleman only to receive a call. I mean, he was sending pictures and whatnot. And when the dog was about 10 months old, I saw a video of the dog jumping from the back of his dually and back up. About several weeks later, he gives me a call and he's yelling at me that I sold him an aggressive dog. I'm like, what do you mean, bro? He's like, yeah, this dog, he snapped on my girl, blah, blah, blah. And not only that, you sold him to me with hip dysplasia. I'm like, dude, there is not, first of all, neither parent has hip dysplasia. There's no other puppy in that litter that has hip dysplasia, not by me, but because he had already communicated with other people that had bought puppies from that same litter. So he knows for himself. It's not just me saying it and him not knowing it. I told him the other day I was going to call you out and let you know, bro, the fact that you're having the dog jump from the back of your truck up and down at 8 months to around 10 months. That's what probably caused your hip dysplasia, bro.
Yeah.
Well, long story short, man, you know, he was a little bit adamant, a little bit excited that day. Probably said a couple of things he shouldn't have, in my opinion. I get a call about a week later, several days to a week later, and he's saying, bro, you know, cooler heads prevail. I started talking with a vet, and it turns out, you know, the dog was in pain. And, you know, the way dogs interpret pain, when a dog is in pain, there's two things that are going to cause dogs, off the top of my head, that are going to cause dogs to act completely different than they normally would. One is pain, and the other one is a female in heat. The dog that heard you whenever you called him, he would come sit next to you. There's a female in heat around. He might not come around. And if he's in pain, the same thing may hold true, or not feeling well may hold true. And it turned out that, you know, at least, he ended up thinking, as well as I did, that he probably caused the hip dysplasia. And because of the hip dysplasia, and the dog was having already issues walking at 10 months, he was in pain. In fact, he said, bro, I didn't even realize at one point he had said in the conversation, I had not realized that he had been shivering until my girl told me that he had been shivering in the corner all day. Like, bruh, you know what I'm saying? Like, at what point does it become the buyer's responsibility? Now, I just saw a comment here, and I hope I'm able to find. Oh, here it is. Living the Malinois way says health testing, genetic and x-rays. I want a history of good hips and elbows for my working dogs. All right. So let's say you require that for the parents and you require a genetic test. Do you feel that that's enough as far as once you take the dog, it's on you, whatever's going to happen? Because I don't know what you're doing with the dog the day he leaves. What do you think about that?
No, I don't feel that's enough. And that piggybacks on my point that I made earlier, as far as breeders, it's our responsibility to teach them so they can understand, hey, you shouldn't have a dog at 10 months jumping on and off the truck. And like you said, you essentially had to revert back and mention that to him. But I think from the beginning that should be acknowledgeable. Hey, until your dog gets to a certain age, the joints are not going to be connected or as strong. You shouldn't be doing certain things if you don't want to run into these issues. And now his story is going to become a testimony for other people that you can use in teaching people, like you just taught me, because I didn't know that story. And essentially everybody that's watching this now knows that. And so they see different people doing the same thing. Now they can say something because they know and they've heard it from a platform like this. So therefore, it is our responsibility to teach them so we can create this community that everybody has the same type of mentality.
I think we could sit here and teach. I've been teaching here for 3 years. Do you know how many times I get a text talking about, bro, I bought a dog. Can I do a consult with you so you can fix my problem? I'm just keeping it real with you, bro. I'm just keeping it real. Come on, man. Come on, give me something, man. I'm keeping it real.
You're right, because like you said though, we come into the game as newbies. We might not know a lot. We might know a lot, but we might run into that one breeder who we see, oh, that's how I want mine to look. That's how I want my program to look. And essentially, they might not have the best characteristics to transfer over to you being successful as far as you just been a pet owner or like I say, or a breeder. So again, you're right. You've been doing this for a while, and it's obvious that if you're still getting texts to this day and asking for consults because people have made the wrong decision, that it's just more work to do. You gotta keep growing. You gotta keep getting to more people, and the mindset just gotta keep spreading. That's all.
I gotta interrupt you, bro. I gotta let you know we out of time, bro. And so I'm gonna drop it. You're gonna do your outro, and we're gonna have basically sell yourself, bro, so people can vote for you, so we can find out who won tonight. All right, here we go, man. Let me drop it. There we go. Come on.
Hey, thank you for your time. Thank you for the chat time and the audience time. It's been much fun here today. Again, this is Dante. I had a really great conversation. Make sure you go on the QBN app and make sure y'all vote for either me or Raul. Either way, make sure y'all like this video. Keep those likes up so I can come back on again next Thursday and have some more conversation and we can get some more people involved. If y'all like these conversations, like I say, continue to like these videos and reach out to me via my social media platforms. You can find me at Gang Changer Kennels, or you can find me at Dante Lemon on Facebook. Either one you'll be able to get in contact with me with. But definitely appreciate the time. I'll definitely see y'all on the next one.
All right. Hey, I'm going to tell you right now. You gone? Good. Vote for me. Vote for me, baby. Let's take this to the other level. Hey, you already know. We're going to be doing this Thursdays at 8 p.m. Hey, you can always contact me, contact Dante, contact Kyle, and bring up different. Come on, Kyle. You just kill my groove there, man. Hey, contact us. Let us know what you want us to argue about. We'll make it happen. We're off from the shoot. Catching you on the